just keep it going. I don't need to necessarily turn it off or anything. And it should start to appear shortly on the video page. So I'm watching it here. And I'm going to open it up in YouTube, I guess. Open in YouTube, can I do that? Open in Safari? Oh, it opens in YouTube anyway. There we go. Okay. There it is. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. There it is. Welcome to live chat. Oh, and my audio is working, obviously. We're going to test your audio. Check your mic.
Testing.
Yeah, and don't scrape it around too much. It's a very sensitive microphone.
Can you
It's an actual condenser mic for a change. I can't actually hear anything in these headphones. I can't monitor what's being said in real time. I was hoping that I would. But yeah, and keep your volume down so it doesn't feed back too much. I don't think it will, but this microphone is pretty much just picking up my voice. And that microphone, however, picks up whatever's around it. Oh, I haven't added your mic to this mix yet. You just wait. Wait a minute. Add existing, fine. Here we go. Added. You should be appearing in the mix now. Try tapping on it or clicking it and saying hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. So with me today is Lưu Lạc,
Hey, how's it
85
going?
from Twitter. Also the purveyor of a Print a Day YouTube channel. Ordinarily these would be muted while I'm doing the title card, but we're testing the audio. We're getting things set up. We haven't done streaming, especially with two mics, ever.
I need to be able to hear it off of the main machine.
I can't hear anything, so don't worry. You're hearing as badly as I am. I think what I might need to do is try.
Or if I'm to listen off of my laptop, there's a major delay, major lag.
Let's get your headphones. But you know, it's all late anyways. We're just gonna wing it, and we're gonna trust that it all works. Once we do get it set up, we don't have to worry about monitoring. We just make sure it's good to go, and then we trust it. I'm just gonna keep this one of these open just so I can see what's going on and also see the chat. Hey, chat people.
Just mute it though.
Hey Israel, how's it going? Sounds like whispering yet clear. Okay, so is that both mics? I think mine sounds pretty clear, but is the left one should be turned up? Just turn it up.
How about now?
Yeah, that's
good.
That's good. That's a good level. It should be anyway. So yeah, we're gonna just kind of drink our coffee and prepare. I don't remember exactly where I left off. I think I was bringing in the language files, and I was gonna do more test builds and get it working on this board I have, just a ramps board that I have sitting on my desk. So we'll get into that soon. Let's see, so I've got the title card up, I've got both mics. Oh, I gotta switch over to the terminal session and put a mic in there for you too. I don't think we're gonna do terminal session actually, so we can skip that, but I will switch to FaceTime. We can put, hello, there's my face. So I'm adding a microphone here for Lu Tai. Sounds like a character from a video game.
Mortal Kombat?
Mortal Kombat, exactly.
Okay.
Do not fight Lu Tai. He has dirty tricks.
Oh yeah. I'll punch you below the belt. Okay.
He'll engage you in an argument until you kill yourself.
Until you're goodness seppuku.
Okay. So we're working on deep dive into the Marlin code today. This will be exciting.
Gotta adjust the position and direction of this mic.
It's not
Is it better
it's not
this way?
directional. It needs to be vertical. It's yeah. It's condenser mics have this diaphragm that has to balance in the air, so it sounds best and it picks up a cone of air of direction. So basically, if you point it towards yourself like this, kind of like as the button towards yourself, it should pick up your voice from that. Anything in that general direction should
Alright,
pick up.
so this is the ideal.
I'm trusting it's going to work the way I think it's going to work. So here we go.
I can't hear myself immediately, so I don't know what exactly is.
Well, let's take a look. Let's do a little playback. It's going to be delayed, but we'll do a little playback test. So, what are you working on? What are you working on over there? You got your video set up? Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it's really delayed.
We're just doing this to drive you crazy, folks. Sorry. Okay, I can hear your voice fine. I mean, it's not whispering, per se.
Yeah.
If you really feel like it needs to be turned up, you can. I can also boost your voice here if need be.
No, I feel like the volume is good. It's
Yeah.
just
It looks good on my level here. I have it at the full
not being
volume,
able to
so-
hear it back right away.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how to, you know.
It's called faith, man. Just trust it's all
yeah,
working.
Just trust that it's working.
If it's not working, people will certainly yell at us and tell us. So I just put the link up on Twitter. So it's the middle of the day. It's 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. Okay, so anybody who is at least here in Texas in Central Time, so pretty much anywhere in the United States that adults are at work, or they're taking care of their kids, or they're doing something meaningful and not here on YouTube wasting time watching our stream. But I figured this would be a good time to do it because we're working. It's our time of day to be here. We're going to be here anyway, so I figured why not? We'll put this stream up now. And I really want to get through this and get on to the next thing because there's a lot of stuff piling up in the pull requests right now. There's just a lot of activity, a big flurry of activity. I actually have the window up in the other screen where you can't see it, but I'll bring it up for you to take a quick peek at because you can always go there yourselves on ye old internet. So right now, yeah, you can see all these that are marked in blue here. I haven't looked at yet. They're all new. Current position fix for G29T and UBL, so that's always a nice thing. I had some questions about that. And then now we've got some other stuff. Execute G-code commands when you stop your print. Yeah, those are the kinds of features that we've been kind of looking for. A lot of people have been looking for some way to run custom scripts on different actions that happen at different times. And I was kind of maybe generalized that, but it sounds like you know, we're kind of on the road to just having a lot of them. Not all piled up in one place, but just having a bunch of different named ones. But it's all right because there are only I can only name maybe a handful of things, actions that during a print where you'd want to have to run extra G-code right away. Maybe on every layer, but layers are a slicer thing, and you can always add G-code to your layer G-code or whatever. So I don't worry too much about that. But this is kind of cool because, yeah, when you stop your print on LCD, well, of course, you know, this again is one of those things where shouldn't it just be the slicer's job to do that, execute? And do you really want a printer to always do the same thing? Maybe you do. I know one thing that has been bugging me lately is that I always have to turn the stepper motors off at the end of a print, or if I quit a print or cancel. And I don't think it always was that way, but I think it became that way at some point. So that's been kind of bugging me. So that might be something that we either make optional or revert or whatever. Or just, yeah, put a switch somewhere where you can turn it on and off.
Or
because
as soon as you stop a print, it will show you the options of
yeah,
stopping the steppers,
right.
disabling steppers, or home and disable disable steppers.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. One of the things that would be nice is when you cancel or a print, if it brought up another screen that was like, what do you want to do next? You know, do you want to try again, or I don't know. I guess you wouldn't want to try again if you had a big thing on your bed. But
lift Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Home,
totally.
Home, then disable steppers, or just disable steppers.
Yeah, I'm not going to be homing with an object on the bed, but maybe on a delta that would be okay. And but you could home XY, or put it, or just bring the bed forward, do that kind of thing. That's usually nice after at the end of a print year. That's kind of what you want anyway. But yeah, it'd be nice to do that, or even have a screen pop up at the end of a print. These are the kinds of things that are, I don't know. We want to have Marlin have the hooks there, and we'll put in things that exercise those, and maybe some of these things will be standard behaviors. But the idea overall is that vendors should choose how they want their printers to behave, and we just make it possible for them to do that. So when we describe like, oh, let's make it do this, or let's make it do that, we're just kind of saying, let's make it so it's possible, and that if somebody really wanted to take it out or whatever, make it kind of fairly easy to do that, either with a switch or by making it editable or whatever in the configs. Yeah, there's a whole long philosophical discussion about how to do the configs and whether to split them up or keep them, two fairly large files and just keep it down to 2 files, because more files means more complication. And I kind of agree with the idea of keeping it down to just the 2 files. And the reason there's 2 is that one of them can be evaluated, and then some decisions can be made logically about what those options are. And then when the second one comes along and it gets processed, it can look at, oh, what happened in that interim. What about those conditionals, and how can those come into play for these options? And so generally speaking, I like having it split up into 2 and keeping it simple like that. There's also the question of like SmoothieWare. In SmoothieWare, we haven't really played with SmoothieWare here, but SmoothieWare uses a system of, basically it's got a single build, a unified build, and then you turn options on and off and behaviors on and off after it's been built by using basically a text file of some kind that it reads, or you can also just turn them on and off using probably G-codes similar to Marlin. And then, yeah, so you can configure it, but it's different because, of course, Marlin is made to be like, you can make a very, very small build that doesn't have very many options, and you can make a very, very large build that has like all the options.
Right.
Plus the only thing you can't have is like, if you have one type of bed leveling, you can't have this other type of bed leveling also. And if you can imagine what the build would be like if you could have all those at the same time, it would be a huge behemoth. It wouldn't fit on smaller boards, and it wouldn't really be what it was meant to be originally, which was to be configurable to small sizes or large sizes depending on what you had available. So there's a lot of philosophical issues about whether to make it like Clipper and have offload more parts to the host software, or to like a smarter or faster processor, and then have just the firmware just do the low-level stuff, just the motion. And I like some of that idea. I mean, it already is parceled off in the firmware itself. You have this high-level G-code becomes steps, and then those step blocks then go on and become the actual motions and activities. And then there are a few other things where G-codes maybe have direct actions, like turn a switch on and off or something. But in terms of the motion, all that stuff is done on multiple levels, and there is like this very clear separation of the whole block thing with the whole Cartesian coordinate thing. And so there is like, yeah, there's this whole philosophical level of, how much can be broken up now that we have that? Can it be, torn apart in 2 pieces, like, something out of the movie The Thing, where it splits in half, and some of the code goes one way and some of the code goes the other way, but they're still independent organisms and they can still work together. There actually has been, someone did submit a pull request involving what they called chunks, which were basically blocks, just like stepper blocks, except they were already pre-processed and would come straight from the host, would send them basically, and so it would be like Clipper. So that is a possibility. It's just a matter of, right now we have this filter that is the G-code becomes a block, then goes to the planner, and there's no reason we couldn't have G-code gives you a block right away, no processing needed, and we just feed it straight to the planner. that's certainly a possibility. So all these things are there in place. It just has to be adapted to the current system that we have, and you know, and then so some things are possible, some things are like just are trickier. The idea of course, the behemoth that you can configure with a single like text file while it's running. Nope, not so much. But you can do a lot while Marlin's running. You can change a lot of the parameters. But generally speaking, once you've built it for a delta, it's always a delta version of Marlin. That's what your binary is now. Or if it's, you know, a dual X carriage, it's like your dual X carriage is a dual X carriage. And in some ways that's cool because it does make it very concise and faster, and you know, it doesn't have to make these decisions at runtime. So for your small, modest AVR boards, it makes perfect sense to have it run that way. So
yeah.
I kind of like keeping the two files and keeping the documentation in them because it helps the developers a lot. And it is one way to look at Marlin is very important to look at it as a very much a big work in progress, because it is always developing, and a lot of what has been happening was, well, we took what was there, and as we've been adding features, yes, and as we've been trying to get it working on 32-bit systems, we've also been kind of like picking the code apart and trying to figure out what the patterns are in the code. And in order to do that, we've had to like take some of the stuff and maybe put it in classes, other stuff and maybe squash it down into macros to avoid repetition, to kind of get a sense of that pattern, and kind of like just finding the patterns and like squishing them down. And from that exercise, the idea was that eventually, okay, something we've been massaging and breaking down and tearing apart for a really long time, now it's in a shape where, oh, now we start to see the patterns and how to fit it into a different kind of configuration that maybe is more modern or more, I don't know, concise, or I don't know, we can figure out ways to have like all the various LCDs that are coming along and controllers, maybe we can fit those all into a common paradigm. We don't have to write 100 different versions of the code. So we're kind of looking at ways of doing that all the time. And so sometimes we make the code messier and break it apart, and really just as an exercise to be like, okay, now how can we put it back together in a more elegant way? And the menus are certainly kind of part of that, and we're always revisiting that. And yeah, there are parts of the code that are going to be like that all the time. The really core stuff, like the motion and the stepper and stuff like that, I think it's pretty solid at this point. I mean, it's not many two ways you can have loops that do steps in time. And what we have now is pretty solid, although it has some quirks with classic jerk. We're recommending everybody switch to junction deviation now, because junction deviation doesn't exhibit some of the weird layer shifting behaviors that sometimes happen if you happen to have just the right angle turn. Sometimes things get lost, and we don't know exactly why, so it's these edge cases, the hardest ones to find. But we did this big reform of the motion system between 118 and 119, and there are a lot of things that are way better about 119, but we did pick up some weird quirks, so hopefully, I'm hoping we'll get through those. Anyway, we're not here to talk too much about the future and all of this, but we can keep you know, looking at those things. I just feel like it's good to think about you know, what we're looking at in terms of the overall plan. And then also, you know, we break it down into, you know, here's our pull requests, and each thing is a simple task. Somebody has this idea to refactor the fans or whatever and fix this one thing, and that all contributes to over the overall improvement of the code base, because someone has an idea in one area and we end up applying it in many areas. It's a really great process. So let's move this off to my off-screen area, and we'll just go back to what we were working on. So yesterday, when we left off, where are we at now? What's the minute mark? The several minute mark. Well, it's 2:08 here, so we're at the several minute mark into our video, and let's get back to where we were. I guess, okay, so I was pulling in some strings that it needed to build, and I was figuring out where the menu system had changed, because last time, when this was made in 118, you know, there you had things like LCD go to previous menu, and those have since been renamed UI go to previous screen, and a few other things because it's been consolidated into a class. So 2.0 has a few more cool things. So I'm just going to put this stuff into another commit. More changes, and we'll just save those for now, and then we'll test and see how it builds. Go straight to it. Here we go, rebuild. And while that's building, we'll go back to the code and we'll look at the area that we're having trouble with, which is the mixer menu, and see if there's anything else that might need to be modernized that we can catch while we're waiting before the compiler catches it. I have a feeling the compiler is going to catch it before we do, or not at all. Oh, error compiling. Okay, there we go. Lots of red text. All right, Lou's gone off to check a print that is going for print a day. This is his playground to get more in practice with video editing and recording and narration and all that kind of stuff. We're all just kind of real new at this. But I figure with this sort of thing, a live stream, it's pretty straightforward. I just go and talk about what I'm doing as I do it, and hopefully don't get too lost in the process. Forgive me if I do ramble. So here we have something called menu font width, which I guess is from the old code, and I've since renamed it. So let's see what menu font width became. And I believe it's now called font menu width. So let's look at font menu and see how many things say font menu. No, font menu anything? Okay, here's an example of font menu. And here, I guess if I go to the one of the headers, I will find, let's try menu font and just see if that shows up anywhere in the current code base. Okay, it does, good. It is still called menu font width, but it has been moved to a place where, yeah, and it makes sense because in this case, let me see, menu font width is showing up in Ultra LCD H under set cursor being called from menu mixer, line 55. And let's take a look and see if menu font width is used in other places. It is used in a few places. Never much in here, and I can kind of see why. Okay, so it appears that I need to at least include this. So let's get that file. And we'll just include that, and hopefully that will help us here. Right, and it was from menu mixer? Oh, it's from menu mixer. Right, okay. I don't think I need menu motion open right now. Okay. Nowhere to be found? Menu mixer. It claims that it came from line 55, so let's just go up to line 55 and we'll take a look. Okay, it's part of set cursor, so set cursor does that. Okay, and I'm going to check and see. Let's see, I guess I have to do, yes, up a level. And let's see if that helps. Build, please. I'm hoping so. Cross your fingers. Okay, maybe that's better. Maybe it's not everything, but it's better. Let's see. We did get through this, but LCD move to was not declared. Okay, I can kind of see what's going on there. And again, that's interesting. Where is it declared? It is declared in LCD print H, so I think I need to include that as well. Let's see where it's included. Maybe there's something I can just include that already includes it. Let's see, it's included in a few places. I suppose if I just include ultralcd.h, I'll probably get everything I need. Let's try that, just as an exercise. So here, menu mixer goes up a level, and ultralcd.h. We'll see if we get everything we need this way. Save ourselves some headaches. Okay, Arduino, rebuild. Again, that's part of that whole pattern thing. I want to make sure I only include the headers that need to be included, just so that we kind of get a sense of what the actual dependencies are. If I include some header that includes a bunch of other headers, then I don't necessarily know. Oh, it's still doing that. It doesn't know what menu font width is in this context. So I think I need probably both, apparently. And is that going to even help? And should I be putting this up in here? Let's find out. Menu font width. And again, this is only defined when you're using a graphical LCD, which is what has me a little bit like, oh, well, of course, with a graphical LCD, that's what you'd expect. That's what I'm building for in this case. So it would do something completely different. I was building for character LCD. It would give me a different complaint, or maybe the same complaint. So yeah, again, we're back to LCD move to doesn't exist. So we do need to get LCD move to, and we need to include for that, I guess, LCD print.h. And we'll just assume that, I guess, here's a menu that does include it, so we'll just put it here. And once again, yeah, this is programming. Isn't it exciting? It's like the movies. It's just like the movies. Hey, CNX Tech, how's it going? Thanks for joining us today in this mid-afternoon live stream. I have my iPad here to monitor the chat and to check if I hear my mumbling. I know it's working. At least part of the audio is working. Louis here.
Hey, I'm back.
Back.
Print's going really well.
And yeah, what's printing right now? Your parts for?
It's the printer bed phone mount version 3.
Oh, okay.
This time with more adjustability.
Awesome. Yeah, we've been doing this these time lapses and using loose phone, and those have been coming out really good. So
yeah.
The phone mount has been pretty decent. I've noticed a tiny bit of shaking, but I guess that's just a hazard. I think one thing we can do is just turn down the acceleration or try using S-curve or whatever. Maybe that'll help a little bit.
Or in between layers, have it come to a complete stop.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, it's really the complete stop thing. It would be nice if it's,
You know,
as
like,
long as it slows down and comes
yeah.
like eases to a stop. You know, you get that nice.
I really like
easing.
Adam's prints.
Uh-huh.
You know, his time lapses.
Right.
They're really great. I think how he has it set up is, you know, the X gantry, the printer head moves all the way to the left, and then it takes the picture after each layer.
Oh, okay. So here's something, while we were gabbing about that, which is, yeah, ultimately what we want, really nice time lapses. You want one per layer. Geeetech firmware, and so I need to just bring those over for the Marlin 2.0 firmware. So right now there's I believe the set cursor macro is already here. It is. So, and it's already being used in a couple places. So I'm just gonna find where it's defined, which I guess is here. And I'm gonna bring these over, and I'm just gonna not drop the whole thing in a pile, but I wanna just bring that up here, and this up here. Oops, just once would be nice. Okay, there we go. And we'll just put these away for now. And what the heck, I'll put them in my clipboard. Okay, there, and we'll do another rebuild. And yeah, these are just, I had all these shortcuts because in the Geeetech firmware, they do some special custom display stuff. They actually, immediately after, I'll give a little background. The menu items as it is now have a few different types of menu items, and each one draws a particular way, and they have certain expectations. Like if you're going to edit a value, there's going to be a single value that needs to be drawn, and so that's how it works. And they don't even have anything like a suffix, which I think would be cool to add. It doesn't say like a degrees or millimeters after the value. It just has, you know, this is your, you know, Z height or whatever. So we can kind of assume we know what the units are, but it'd be nice to show them, even though we have such a narrow screen. Sometimes we can fit them. Anyway, I digress. So you only have one value to display by itself, and that's kind of how it works. So the idea was that Geeetech figured out, or went around and like hacked it a little and made it so they drew their own values, two values, one after another, on the line, and when you edit the value, both values get drawn at the same time, and they did a pretty cool job of that, and I was like, wow, this is all right, but it's a little out of whack because it's being done in a certain way that's drawing too often. Like pretty much every time the screen was being redrawn, it was redrawing it, so it was like, you know, just a lot of extra drawing that didn't need to do. So went back and just kind of like got it working within kind of the way it's sort of intended to work, and now that involves bringing in a lot of these macros and things. So at least we now have a standard way to take a menu item, and if you needed to draw something that wasn't your standard single number type value or single string, it could show you something else, like, you know, two values or two strings and whatever. But yeah, that's the general gist. So this is one way to do it. We hacked around it because you wouldn't want to have to necessarily have every time you need to do a different custom drawing, make a new custom drawing routine. Instead, just do the drawing right in place. Just call what you need to draw. So that was the approach we took here.
See what CNX text is saying?
What, the next text? Next text?
No, the chat.
Oh, hello chat. Hello chat. Are you following the chat?
Yeah, CNX is asking if this will allow 2.0 to work on A20M, and
yes.
It's hoping that the hardware would be supported as well.
Yeah, that's the idea. The idea is to get all the stuff that's on the A10M, A20M that we did for Geeetech, and bring that over to Marlin 2.0. So, because they're still using 1.18, and 1.18 is 2 versions ago, and it's a good version. I think it's and we've been using it. It works well. We've been printing all. Let's see, we printed this with it. Little thinky head sign. I like this one a lot. This is the thicker one, and we did an earlier test with a thinner one. You know, if you're into conserving filament, this is the thinner, and you can see it's like, you know, just a little more thick than a business card or something like credit card.
If anyone's interested in watching a time lapse of the print, they can head over to my channel.
Yep.
That's a time lapse of it.
Yeah, Lou has a time lapse of this, and I linked it also. I tweeted it. It's out there. It's out there to be found. Anyhow, I'm gonna just look at what's going on here. LCD clicked. Okay, obviously this is another case of UI dot something. So let me go back to my firmware menu mixer. Let's see, LCD clicked. Yeah, so let's see how other things are referring to it. I assume, yep, UI. So I need to put a UI in front of it here. There we go. UI.LCD clicked. Okay. Let us now do another build attempt. Let's get through this. Get this thing building. This is what everyone's waiting for. Is it going to build? Is it going to work in 2.0? Will we have actual mixing for 2 channels in 2.0? There are still some things that I have to do as far as the actual logic, because things changed in the mixing. There's a really good contributor, Andreas, who does really good stuff, and he took the mixing stuff and optimized it and made it so that it would like not lose any steps, even because you know when you're mixing, you're reducing big numbers and you're taking fractions of one and multiplying them. Some of those fractions can be small, and you multiply them by some amount between 0 and 255, and your precision isn't that much, and so he figured out a way to get it just basically nice, the mix to be more precise and accurate. So, but it makes it harder to read, and I don't quite understand it all. So I'm just trying to find out how to get the, I think I figured out in our last session how to get the percentage and stuff. And so that's what I'm going to be doing here too, is making sure that everything works on the level of percentage or fraction of one, and that we have those numbers available and can have it all work within the various types of systems we have. At least get it working on the A20M today, and we'll see what happens after that. Okay, so again, refresh. Apparently, I forgot refresh is also a UI method. So UI.refresh is what's happening here. So UI refresh. Okay, that should be good. What else needs help here? Gradient T has no member name rate anymore. Okay, I think we named it. It's called mix now. I just did that to mess myself up. So that's now called mix anymore. Yep, of course there are. Keep going. Rate. Okay, there we go. Mix. Okay, let's try that build real quick. Guess I won't be needing these since I can't hear a darn thing on them. I'll just put these aside, and I guess I'll just plug in my speakers. Yesterday, actually, it was the same way. I wasn't even, or the day before yesterday when I was doing the stream, I wasn't even using the headphones to monitor. I was just listening to ambient music while I was coding. It kept me in the groove, man. Did I listen to Phaedra? Because that puts me into the groove? No. I listened to something else. Okay. Yes, it will be nice once mixing is ported over. I can't wait. I'm tired of looking at 118 on there. EOS, okay. N% greater than start percent. Okay. No member name NPCT. Oh no! What did I call it? It is called NPCT. So, oh, you know what it is? It's probably because it's, yeah, mixer dot. No, it's now called mixer gradient dot. Yeah, this is what you get for doing things piecemeal. I know, I find this stuff. Get started on one part and then get sidetracked onto another part. There's no way to code. Don't let your kids who are learning to code watch this video. Give them the wrong idea. Okay.
Yeah, hide your kids.
And N%, same idea. That's right. Hide your kids.
Who have bad coding influence.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. It looks like we're very close to having it build. I think any second now it's going to build. Oh, we're so close. All right, gradient change has no member named start Z. Okay, we're in the same spot. Mixer start Z. Mixer gradient start Z. Replace one occurrence and end Z, same deal. And I assume there's only one, but this is what we do, just to be sure. Okay, yeah, just the one right there. Okay, this will build. Now the question is, will the mixing menu is not yet mixed in to the menus. Get it? Let's see. It's not mixed into the menus yet. I have to add a menu item into the main menu, I guess is where I'll put it. So that's where it is in the A10M. So let's get it. LCD mixer, I think it's called LCD mixer menu. Yes, yes it is. and also edit gradient menu. These are declared early, so I'll assume I need to do that here somewhere too, probably in my, let's see, where's it being declared? Here, for the benefit of Mr. Mix. Okay. Oh, here we are. Mixer menu has some of that stuff. But mixing extruder, okay, in the main menu, there we go. It goes in the main menu. So menu main will need to know a little bit about these. So let's see, I guess I'll do it this way. How's it done currently? Okay, we'll do it this way. If enabled mixing extruder, I guess. So, and if there, we'll see what it says here. Yeah, mixing extruder, and then we'll do this. Comes after the control menu. So, oh, you know what? That's changed in 2.0. No more control menu. Sorry, but we do have tune, motion, etc., etc. I'm going to put this, since it's kind of cool and fundamental, and since we're going to be playing with it, maybe it'll move later, I'll put it after the SD, but before the tune stuff. So I'll put it right here. Mixer. There it is. Ready to go. Mixer menu and then edit gradient menu. I don't think that even needs to be here, but mixer menu does, because we mentioned it. So there we go. Any function that just is a void that doesn't take any functions, doesn't take any arguments, can be a menu handler. Preferably, it should display something and act all menu-like, but things don't have to. They can just be code that plays sounds. It could do anything, really. It could sit in a loop and laugh at you. Okay, here we have an instance where some things didn't get defined, and the linker is confused. So it doesn't see what this LCD mixer menu is. Okay, well, for one thing, it's renamed. It's now called menu mixer. I'm going to change the standards for behavior again. So it is called menu mixer. So let's at least do a quick rebuild on that. And then it also was looking for something else that I forgot to look at. Come on, finish your build. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's looking for mixer gradient color. Okay, so let's look for that. Okay, so we have all these references to it, but yeah, evidently I did not, in fact, include it there. Or did I? Okay, there it is. It's being declared, but it's being declared as part of mixer, non-mixer grade. Oh yeah, there it is. So this is a case, I think, of the fact, because it's static, I need to declare it, and I did not. So here it's just called color. And here it's called gradient color. I think I probably just renamed it gradient color. I think I will keep it gradient color. Let's see if that's enough. Oh, it's part of gradient mix. So actually, yes, clearly I need to declare it here. Let's just put it here. It is separate from color. Mixer gradient color. There we go. Now, the concept of, since there is such a thing as gradient and there is such a thing as mix, shouldn't my gradient color be gradient mix? I think probably, yeah. Huh? Shouldn't this be replaced by that? Let's take a look. Maybe I should make that. It should be gradient dot mix instead. Mixer dot gradient color dot mix. Let's see what the difference is. I seem to remember last time around there was a reason why. Yeah, that's right. The menu was doing one thing with it, and then the planner was also. Yeah, I see what's going on. So, right, gradient color equals, etc., etc. Okay, so did we ever? And then yeah, then the gradient color itself is what's grabbed by the new planner code as each layer goes up. So you can see we have this function that sets, that does this conversion. And I think I should probably make a method that does that conversion for us so that we don't have to remember it each time. So I'm just going to borrow this, and I'm going to go up here to mixing, and I'm going to say when we're using gradient, we'll also have something called, and yeah, I will move this down. I guess down here where the other gradient mix stuff is. How about that? And we'll move this up here. And we have a thing to set the gradient mix. Let's do this. Static void. We'll take this thing here. And we don't have to refer to mixer since this is mixer. From mix. And that'll just do this. And maybe we make it inline, just because. Okay. Lou likes it.
What was that?
It's just some kind of conversion. I'm just trying to take common code and put it in one place.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like a good idea. This is not, I mean, ultimately things like this would all be, broken down. If you were a real C++ formalist, you'd be like, everything should be in its own struct or class with its own functions and methods that determine its own behavior, and you should have accessors and make everything encapsulated. And for now, we're just doing this, this is a little bit of like a hack, but it's taking what was there and bringing it over at least a little bit more, but formally, but not.
I think we had all the
perfect.
time in the world.
Oh,
We
yeah.
had better structuring,
Mm-hmm.
better organization and whatnot would be great. But in the meantime, whatever works,
Yeah, in some sense. I mean, also there is some
To a
question
degree,
as to,
right? Yeah.
What is, I mean, when I'm doing the port, I'm looking at, well, this currently works, and so I'm afraid to break it in a way. I just want to keep it as close to what was there originally. But at the same time, I'm like, well, but there are improvements, and I look at stuff and I'm like, why are there two of these? And if I'm asking questions like that, clearly I don't understand how it works. I need to follow the flow and see what's going on. But I mean, it's not exactly like rocket science as far as gradient goes. It's you're moving between two colors. But the other thing too is, I am taking something that's built on the assumption that you're only going to have two, and I'm bringing it into a system that has like more freedom. You can have as many as you want, pretty much, up to whatever your machine can handle. So yeah, it's a trade-off, and it's like I look at it and of course there's going to be deficits, of course there are, but it's like, what can I do about it? Not much, Oh, and also, yeah, this gradient color thing, as I can see, like it's using the newfangled system, and so I don't want to mess with it, I want to make sure I don't mess with it. Like also, if I look and compare like what these are doing, like if I look at this kind of stuff, nozzle 0, if I go looking for nozzle 0 in the old code, I'm sure I'm going to find that I'm like, in some sense, I'm confused about which variables do what. So again, it's like, keep it as close to what it's doing now as possible. Not understanding it, fine, but then as I figure it out, I'll be like, okay, clearly this is redundant, I can get rid of this. The new system doesn't need this anymore, blah, blah. And so we'll figure that out. But for now, I'm really happy that we're at least getting it this close to compiling. The one thing that's left is there is a previous declaration, which maybe I got rid of already. Maybe I didn't. But we're looking now simply for gradient color. Gradient color. Inside of, we'll look at here, inside of my stuff. So mixing CPP declares it here. Good. It's declared here. It's not declared elsewhere. And oh my goodness, is the build, so far it hasn't errored yet, but I'm expecting something. expecting an error. Oh wait, no, it compiled successfully. Okay, well, that's a start. Okay, so let's try turning this feature on and seeing what we get. So I think we already did that part. We made some testing changes. We have one extruder, we have mixing extruder, we have mixing steppers too. Yeah, we brought over all the stuff from the A20M for testing purposes. We are still using a ramps board. I believe it does need to remain EB, shouldn't it? I would think so, because 2 extruders is extruder bed, so I think it should stay EEB, but we'll find out. Okay, so now for the build test. Let's build it and put it on this board. We'll see what happens. I have the board here, ready to go. Here it is. As you can see, last time around we had we put the stuff on there. The front screen has the MX, shows the mix. It was basically this is holding right now is 118 on a ramps. So what I'm going to do now is take this ramps and put this 2.0 on it. So let's merge this, now working, I'll just call it. I'm not making my commits too pretty yet, because this isn't going to be the final thing. And let's upload it to the board. Tools, board, good board, processor. We'll see if it builds and runs on this board. Okay, I'm excited. Presumably it doesn't have to rebuild the whole thing again, because it just did. So that'll be a little quicker. But yeah, this is exciting. This is always the most exciting part. The first broken build. What will happen? What will the result be? And will this work on an A20M or not? Or not?
If it doesn't catch us on fire.
It's not going to catch on fire. We have all our thermal protection in place. The worst thing that could happen, I think in this case, is just like glitchy things will be on the screen, or they'll be in the wrong place, or the wrong values will appear, or they won't stick when we try to edit them, or who knows. Okay, so we now have it running 2.0. Actually, even have the
oh, the screen refresh was way better.
Oh, well, that's a good sign.
It was quick.
Quick screen refresh.
But
well,
it was still doing.
Okay, so one thing you can see is the mix is on the top right of the screen, which is like completely wrong. Right is wrong, so it's up here now instead of down over here. So I forgot. I guess when I did the you saw this live stream, and if you watched me put in the code for drawing this, I probably completely forgot to put the position statement in that told it where to put the cursor. And I'm probably using like old code. So I'm just going to copy over the proper code. So, well, let's actually, before I do that, let me go into the menus and just see where those lie. I bet the menus are in better shape. So let me switch over to the editor. And again, to the full screen here for you to see. So again, here we are. Again, menu is here. And I'm going to do a quick enter to the menu. Here we go, entering the menu. Mixer is third down after print from SD. There it is. Yep, showing it to you as quickly as possible. There you go, mix, toggle mix, gradient. It's all there. If I enter to mix, and oh my goodness, all the editing is working. It's rare that you just do a search and replace on variables and a few tweaks and just bring it in verbatim and you get a working thing. The question, of course, is going to be how much does it work when you go, oh yeah, and you see here, as I was saying, I edited it, but this values didn't stick, right? That's exactly the sort of thing you'd expect. But toggle does toggle, that does the toggle work, so it's toggling the two values. That's cool, so that works. The gradient menu, let's see, gradient menu, here we are in the gradient menu. That's looking pretty good. Let's see, I know it's probably like way too far. Look kids, Exhibit A. Gradient mix, yep, so All these are, oh, that actually did stick. This gradient mix sticks. I can see why, because it's all inside the gradient structure. I think so some of these depend on being derived from values outside and then calculating those calculations that I'm working on right there. But as I was saying, I was going to put them in, but they never finished. Okay, so start Z, that's okay, and Z, yep, that looks good. Oh, did it just change? No, okay, that's all good. Good. Okay, well, you can watch me enjoy this menu, but the menu part works at least. So we're close, we're very close. Now the question is, why is the mix sticks? Wait, it did stick that time. What the heck? Okay, it did stick that time. So let me see, great, main menu, back to main. Okay, wow, very cool. So we are getting close. We are close. I love this part. We actually have a working thing. So let me just take this bit here, and I'm just going to take every place where it does this bit. For example, here, update mix. And I guess it's here too in the planner. Set gradient color from mix. Okay, so you can kind of see the gradient color is what is used specifically when gradient mode is on. That's the mix that it's using. It's sort of a it's a special color. It's like an extra virtual tool, basically. It has the mix that is going to be used when gradient is enabled, and that mix changes over time. And what we did was we made a change as part of this function called method called populate block. And populate block is where it's happening. Yep, there it is. Anytime that a block is populated and ready to go, it gets a little gradient info in it if the gradient stuff is on. Or, I should say, it checks to see whether it should update the gradient, and does so. So here, of course, that's where your M166 comes into play, and where during your print you can have a gradient set for one part of your print, and then you can say, okay, now that that part's done, here's a new gradient, and it'll do a new gradient. Of course, in this case, we're talking about 2 color gradients only. Some of the stuff that we haven't done yet is we have, as you can see, there's a power loss set and mix call there. None of this stuff is actually done, so we're going to take that out. The power loss set mix we do not care about. And here, well, since all it's doing is setting the gradient from the mix, I guess we can just call that instead. We'll just throw this out. There you go. That gets it down to somewhat essentials. Everything else, it was, as far as the drawing goes, it was all working. Oh yeah, the one thing, of course, the front screen. So we'll take that Dogum status screen page, or I should say the status screen Dogum, or whatever it's called, and we'll do that. We'll fix that. So M1000 we don't need. We can put that away. Put that away. We can put these away. These are the typical mixing behaviors. Yep, we can put those away. Stepper we may revisit, but I'm going to put it away for now. Here we did make sure that if you're using gradient mix that you only have 2 steppers. Other than that, not good. Not good, not gonna do it, not prudent. Okay, here's the actual draw that we were looking for, except this is the Dogum, I should say the HD44780 version. We want gradient color here, and I believe it's called status screen Dogum. There we go. So here's where the value is being drawn in the wrong place. Okay, so here is where it was drawing before 0 XYZ baseline, basically, plus X label positions. So that's where it was being drawn before, so I guess that's where we'll draw this. We'll start with this. And I am actually going to just let it be. Did I put a label on this? I guess I should anyway. Right, just put a nice label in there for future generations. Okay. And we'll just upload it and get a better look. And hopefully that mix will be proper. But that's, I'm not going to say that's a wrap. Oh, jeez. Set gradient color for mix. Geez, you'd think it would be easy, but actually that's mixer dot set gradient color from mix. Yeah. Ready to go. I bet someone in the chat probably already pointed that out for me. Yeah. I just wasn't paying attention. Okay, let's do it. Let's take a look at menu mixing.h again. We'll take a look at that gradient structure there. There's the mix. And then we have what's called the gradient color.
Someone's got a question in the board.
Oh yeah? What's the question now? What's the question?
Are there examples of layer shift issues in 2.0 on Cartesian machines?
I haven't heard of any. I know that 119 and 11 bug fix are exhibiting some occasional rare layer shifting for certain setups, but I have not actually seen that happen, and I've been using 119 on a lot of machines. I've also been using 2.0 on a couple machines, and I haven't seen anything like that, so as far as I know, 2.0 is better in that regard. But overall, I would recommend everybody switch to junction deviation because it doesn't exhibit any of those issues in either case. And junction deviation is better and smarter than jerk anyway. So that's, and it's going to be turned on by default, I think, in future versions of Marlin, probably starting with 2.0, because it just is better. And believe it or not, even on the AVRs, we have enough computing power for it, so might as well use it. It's just better. I don't know what exactly junction deviation is precisely. I've looked at the code many times, but it's still like, wow, junction, it deviates from the junction, right? It's like conjunction junction, except more deviant. I'm not sure. It's but it basically it's smarter than jerk, and it's, in essence, it has to do with the amount of angular change over time. Jerk, it looks at each individual axis and how much it needs to speed up and slow down instead, or how much it's going to change on the next segment and stuff. So there are, yeah, so that's been built, and now I guess uploaded would be a good idea. Okay, that did build successfully. We're getting there. So now I'm going to look for the string nozzle 0, and that's going to be replaced by 0 because I don't necessarily need that shorthand. I know what nozzle 0 means. Nozzle 1 is going to become 1. And there we go. Okay, so, right, and define 0, 0, that's funny. Yeah, no, goodbye. Okay, anything else the gradient mix should do? Well, one thing it should do is, I suppose, embody the gradient color. So I don't know, maybe rate was the better name for this, because it is, even though it's the mix in terms of these funky integers. Okay, so as you can see now, we are back in business with this. I'm going to look at the video here and we'll see if you can see what I'm seeing. Oh yeah, you can. There we go. MX. Yeah, much better. Okay, good. And as I do the menu, okay, editing the mix, 1090. Oh, it stayed. Okay, I don't know what I did wrong last time. Maybe I hit toggle. I don't know. Who knows? A gradient mix. Start Z. 0.6. Oh yeah. 3.9. Oh wait, it went down to 0.2. I think there's a thing where as you're editing these, like it constrains them so that they will always be far enough apart from each other. Let's see, 0.8, 3.9, 4.0. Okay. Now if I go up to cut that out. Now if I go up to 2.0, 2.2. Oh, now the other one's 4.0. Okay, let's see, 3.0, 4.0, 3.7, 4.0. This is exciting to watch, I know. 3.8, 3.9, 4.0. Okay, so it's staying. I don't know why it was constraining the way it was, but 4.2, 5.0, 4.9, 5.0, 5.1, 6.1. Aha! Something's happening. 5.4, 6.1. Okay, so it seems like it's whatever the constraint method is. It's fun. It's funny. The start Z, end Z's don't really make much sense. The idea is really just that if you edit the start Z and you make it some number that's over the end, it'll just make sure that the end is bigger than the start. If you edit the end and you make it smaller than the start, it should make it the start, go down and be smaller than the end, assuming they're not negative. So I don't know why it works the way it does, but that can clearly be changed. Toggle does work, the gradient stuff, gradient mix, start mix, 700, whatever. Okay, that's all there. And yeah, as near as I can tell, it's all ready to go. So I'm going to take this and let's merge it all into at least one bundle of stuff that I can put into the thing. What I am going to do is, let's see, gradient color. I guess I'm going to put gradient color inside the gradient, into the gradient structure just for fun. So this is how that would work. Gradient color, we'll take gradient color and we'll put it in the structure, so right after here. Mixer color T, gradient color, mixing steppers. The gradient mix for the, I'm going to say for the mixing steppers code, and the current gradient mix for the LCD code. I'm going to just separate these in a way that makes sense as best as I understand them right now. So gradient color, there we go. So this is going to be called, instead of gradient color, we're going to call it gradient dot color. Okay, and just to be on the safe side, we'll do another build, make sure it builds. While that's going, we'll look at, wow, it's surprising how quickly that all came together. I'm trying to think if we need to do anything special for recovering from power loss. I think the only thing is that if the gradient mix color is restored, then the print continues, and the print is set to use the gradient mix or the gradient dot color. Then it should continue right on where it was. So let's see, gradient color in Dogum there, menu mixer, planner, right? Right, so here we have this instance of, I bet you didn't expect that. Okay, there. Now it's all making sense. Okay, so let's put this all together, mix it into a nice, make it into a nice commit, and we'll see what we get. All right, so the way I do that in Marlin developer land is I use MFRB, which means rebase, try and take all my changes and put them on the latest code up at bugfix 2.0. And wow, look at all the changes I made here. So let's see, more changes, gradient mix, so this is for testing. I guess since that's testing, I can always move it at the end. That I can always do. That I can always do. Oh yeah, might as well. Let's see. What am I doing? You may be wondering. I'm doing a little what's called an interactive rebase, where I go through all the commits and I see whether I want to keep them or throw them away or combine them together. So what I'm doing now is combining some of these things. And I believe that if I move this above this and that, and I do that, that all those should, yeah, it worked. So now we go to GitHub Desktop, we look at my changes, and you can see, okay, I've turned off Marlin dev mode, and now we are doing this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to create a new branch from this, git checkout. Yeah, and no shortcuts for this. New branch name with a new name, and I'm going to call this gradient mixing, hooray, and I guess M166, just to remind myself that that's in there. And that's the one we're going to use to make the actual pull request. And now that I have this, I'm going to get rid of all the stuff that makes it look like something for me, and make it just for everybody. So let's see, right now, Marlin dev mode, that's my stuff. I don't really need it at this time. We'll drop that. We can drop that. We can drop that. These are my configs, so what I'm going to be doing is I'll throw those out, but I need to keep them for this particular test, so I'm going to keep them right now. But I am also going to move, I guess I'll just basically combine all the config stuff together. So let me just check, is that a config? Yep, that's only config. How about this? Yep, that's config only. That's config only. So I can do all those. So let's see. Yep. Mix that together, mix that together. And let's see. Okay, so then this is all the new stuff at the end here. So let's see what happens when I close this. Well, I guess I should rename this. We'll rename this to test configuration. And we'll put some marks on it so we won't forget. There we go. Okay, so once again, we're back to this, and I guess the next and last thing I would do is just move this to the test configuration too. Oh, before I do, let's see. One of the things I can see here is, yeah, so you'll notice that I have, okay, that worked, but what I've left in place is I still have this because it depends on some changes that I've made here for this to actually work. Like I'm enabling gradient mix, which doesn't exist until this point. So what I can do is simply, I would normally just say undo and leave it hanging and then maybe make a new one. I'm trying to figure out what I should do with this. I guess for now I'll leave it hanging. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, this is all test configuration stuff. This, I can't really put before this, can I? I think I may be able to. Let's try that too. Why not? This is the cool thing about Git, you can experiment sometimes. So what if I were to put this here, like that? Will it let me? Well, of course there's some conflicts, but how bad are they? Just the one? Right, there is no gradient mix yet. Until I've actually added gradient mix, yeah, so. Put that away, continue. Okay, now let's take a look and see if it puts it back. Okay, it does. Okay, interesting. So, right, it is added by, yeah, here it's not being turned on because we got rid of that. But here in the new commit, this is other stuff. This can all be made part of that, I guess. And then now we're adding that, and I guess, yeah. It's always a question how to work it. Should I move it around? Okay, so well, now that this is at the end, at least I can do this. I can say undo, right? I can decide I want to add these to the config. Well, I should keep it, I guess. Oh, it's tricky, it's tricky. So tricky to know what to do. Let's see, I guess I'll go with this for now. Let's upload it again, just to see that it does. Okay, I guess I'm ready to make a pull request out of this and go and do some testing on the A20M itself. So I'm going to break out of the live stream and we're going to come back after I may do a new setup in the other room or not, but either way I'm going to do some testing of this on that machine and see what happens. And then I'll come back and talk about it.
The A20 you mean?
Either one doesn't matter because this feature applies to both. It's just for Marlin 2.0.
Yeah, just the A20 is in use at the moment.
Oh, well, damn it.
The print's going great. I think my model's a little too big. The threads and everything, that's sized appropriately, but the jaw is a little too big.
Yeah.
Where it might run into the base. But it should be fine on the other printer that has more of an opening underneath the bed.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, this is the Thinky Head channel. Signing off. Thank you for joining us for now. This is pretty cool. You'll be able to see the final pull request, which I'll post up at.
It's upside down.
Look, there's more stuff. Oh, hey, yes. Thinky is. This is how we roll here. Things are upside down here at Thinky Head. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to yeah, it has no member name gradient. I know you have no member name gradient. We'll figure it out. So anyway, this is gonna. I'm gonna continue to tweak this. Get back compiling. Compile it up on the A20M and well, I guess the A10M in this case because the A20 is busy, and see how it works. And I'll get back to you and we'll do another little follow-up. So wish me luck. Wish us luck. I know this has been one of those things that we've been waiting for, just so we can have move on from it 1.18 and get the latest stuff. So I'm looking forward to it as much as anybody. And we'll try printing some multicolor stuff and see what happens. Or gradients actually would be the thing to test. We now know that if we mix black and white, we have to use much less black to get it to do the gradient. Otherwise, it overwhelms the color. So we're gonna tweak that. Maybe we'll just use I don't know. We've got some light color, some dark color, so we'll figure it out. Maybe white and red would be a good combo. So I don't know, but we'll let you know. All right, talk to you soon, guys. Signing off. Bye bye.